welcome to my Magicka DK build and rotation video. First things first, I'm going to go over the gear that I will be wearing. You want to be wearing 5-piece Burning Spellweave on your body. This is a very strong set on all classes, however it is insanely strong on Magicka DKs. The monster set you want to be wearing is Grothars or Valkynscoria. You want one piece to be medium, the other piece to be heavy. Grothar's 2-piece honestly isn't that much better than Valkynscoria, however where Grothar's outshines Valkynscoria is the 1-piece gives roughly 1.4k max magicka because of multipliers, whereas Valkynscoria gives about 1.2k health because of multipliers. So obviously the max magicka will increase your DPS by a lot. If you don't have Grothars, you can settle with Valkynscoria, but it's definitely worthwhile to farm for Grothars. As for your jewelry, you want to be wearing 3-piece Moondancer, which is best in slot, 3-piece Infallible Aether, which is behind Moondancer, or 3-piece Willpower, which is behind Infallible Aether. Even blue Infallible Aether is better than Willpower. As for your weapons, you want your front bar to be a Maelstrom's Inferno Staff. Even if your Maelstrom's Inferno Staff isn't sharpened, it should still be best in slot. I know for a fact that even a Nirnhoned Inferno Staff is best in slot. As for your back bar, you have multiple choices here. You can run another Maelstrom Staff. You can run a non-set staff and enchant it with a weapon damage glyph. Or you can run a Moondancer or Infallible Aether staff, depending on which jewelry you're wearing. As for your ability bars, you want to be running on your front bar, Burning Embers, Engulfing Flames, Blockade of Fire, Molten Lip, and Inner Light. You'll want to front bar Shooting Star. As for your whip morph, Molten Lip is if you're going for a solo play, or if you're in unorganized groups, Molten Whip is the better morph. However, in an organized group with somebody running Blockade of Shock instead of Blockade of Fire, if somebody's running Blockade of Shock, Blockade of Shock can set the enemies off balance, including bosses, except for the first 2 bosses in Veteran Ethereum Archive, and they will proc Flame Lash. So, if somebody is using Blockade of Shock in your group, you want to have Flame Lash, as it is roughly 2k more DPS than Molten Whip. It is insane. Another thing about Blockade of Shock involves your CP. If somebody is using Blockade of Shock, you want to have 75 in Thaumaturge, that way you unlock the Exploiter passive under the ritual. This again increases your DPS by a further 10% if somebody is using Blockade of Shock. This is still worth having even if you're not in an organized group, as this CP setup is only roughly 1.5% DPS loss compared to the standard CP setup. So you off balance, if somebody's using Blockade of Shock, will be up roughly 70% of the time. So this is about a 7% DPS increase if somebody's using it, and only like a 1.5% DPS loss if somebody isn't. So it's worth using this CP setup, just so you don't have to constantly spend your gold. As for my CP with the setup, I have 2 in Spell Erosion, 100 Elemental Expert, 22 Elfborn, 1 Staff Expert, and 75 Thaumaturge. The reason I don't put this point from Staff Expert and this point in Spell Erosion into Elfborn is because Elfborn actually does not work every point, it works every group of points. So if I put 2 more points in Elfborn, my DPS actually wouldn't increase. I would have to put at least 4 more points into Elfborn for my DPS to increase. And I don't have 4 points to spare, so I put them into Spell Erosion and 1 point into Staff Expert. I will put the jump points for Elfborn in the description. As for everything else, as for the rotation rather, you want to start on your front bar. You want to start with Burning Embers, and then Engulfing Flames, and then Blockade of Fire. Then you want to bar swap, Eruption, Flames of Oblivion, Beast Trap. Then you want to bar swap back, whip 3 times, and then reapply your front bar dots. Then you want to whip 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And reapply your front bar dots again. And then bar swap. And then reapply your back bar dots. And then repeat. So flame whip 3 times. Front bar dots. Whip 4 times. Front bar dots. Back bar dots. And you get the idea. So, if you didn't quite catch it, the rotation is, I need to get my Magicka back, so I'm going to heavy attack. I'm also going to try to get out of combat so I can apply Alley Drain. Okay, so you want to start out on your front bar. When you start on your front bar, you apply Burning Embers, Engulfing Flames, Blockade, Bar Swap, Eruption, Flames of Oblivion, Bar Swap, whip 3 times, Burning Embers, Engulfing Flames, Blockade, whip 4 times, Burning Embers, Engulfing Flames, Blockade, Bar Swap, Eruption, Flames, Trap, whip 3 times, reapply front bar dots, whip 4 times, and you get the idea. So it repeats over and over again after the first initial set. It's a very long rotation, but it's actually kind of simple. So back bar dots, 3 whips, front bar dots, 4 whips, front bar dots, back bar dots, whip 3 times, front bar dots. Now as for an actual DPS parse, I will get the parse done now. In a solo environment, I have gotten 37.1k. That's the max I've gotten solo on this 3 mil dummy without anybody else here helping me. However, I applied my own Alley Drain whenever I did that. So now, here's the DPS parse. I'm going to try to keep the talk minimal, that way I don't mess up my rotation. Anytime you drop your banner, you want to take 1 whip out of your rotation as you use an ability, so it wastes time. So go back to the front bar, so I whip 3 times, and reapply my front bar dots. Now I'll whip 4 times, reapply my front bar dots, back bar dots. Now I'll whip 3 times, reapply my front bar dots, 4 times, front bar dots, back bar dots, 3 times. Actually, I need a heavy attack, so I'm going to twice and then heavy attack. Now, 4 times. Back bar dots. And there we go. I got 38.8k DPS, however the sustain was getting kind of bad. Don't worry about the sustain because in trials it will be better. In trials you will have worm buff, giving you 5% reduction on your abilities. You will have people throwing orbs for you, giving you 1% max magicka for every enemy hit, on top of other synergies that you can pop to make use of the Undaunted passive, restoring 4% your max magicka. If you use somebody else's DPS synergy, such as somebody uses Liquid Lightning and you use Conduit, you actually won't lose DPS from popping the synergy. If you use this synergy, take 1 Molten Whip out of your rotation. So say you popped a synergy, instead of Molten Whipping 4 times before the second time you reapply your front bar dots, you would whip 3 times before you reapplied your front bar dot. So anytime you heavy attack, pop a synergy, or drop a banner or a meteor, just take 1 Molten Whip out of the rotation, depending on where you are at in the rotation. This is a very simple rotation. However, Since it's extremely long, it will be confusing at first. It is the easier Magicka DP. It is the easier Magicka DK rotation. I was trying to use the other one, which is slightly more complex. But since it's so much more complex, I ended up losing DPS in trial scenarios because of mechanics and just losing where I was at in the rotation. So, unless you're in a very, very top tier guild where everybody's pulling 50k single target, this is a very good rotation to use because it is good enough for all content in the game, honestly even including VMAL hard mode, because you can easily pull about 45k DPS in a trial scenario with this rotation. Another thing that I forgot to mention at the start, if you are using 2 Maelstrom weapons, you can slot poisons. If I slot a poison on my bar without the Blockade of Fire, I keep the weapon damage that the staff gives. So as you can see, adds 189 spell damage. I'm going to get on my lightning bar. So you can see I'm on my lightning staff bar. I have 2,175 spell damage. If I equip a Drain Magicka Poison, giving me roughly 200 more Magicka recovery throughout the course of the fight, my spell damage does not lower, and this is not a tooltip bug. So if you are still having sustain issues, I would advise slotting these. If you want more DPS, you can slot breaching poisons, or if you want to mix between DPS and sustain, I will link a third poison in the description, and I will also link both the recipes for these 2 poisons in the description as well. If you are not max CP, I would honestly advise not being a Magicka DK. I would advise a minimum of CP 500 to run a Magicka DK competitively. What I mean by competitively is if you're going for veteran trials, VMA, any of those things, I would not advise being a Magicka DK if you're below CP 500. The reason is their sustain and their survivability is just really bad as it is, even at max CP. So if you're even lower CP, I couldn't even imagine how bad it would be. But if you want to try it, more power to you, but I would advise not to. So thanks for watching, and if you are confused about anything or if I failed to explain something properly, feel free to leave a comment or even add me in game. My @name is @Leonova, and I play on PC and A. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.